Hi folks, Phil from Enbos, here to give you a quick tour of the new VTT export features in Fractal Mapper 9. Now, a lot of people use virtual tabletops these days, VTTs, and one of the things VTTs do well is control the areas that the characters can see. They do this by defining barriers, doors, and lights. This information allows the VTT to show and hide areas that are visible to characters. Normal image files such as JPEGs and PNGs don't contain this kind of information, but universal battlemap files, UVTT files, do. A number of VTTs now support importing these UVTT files, and I'll show you how to create one with Fractal Mapper 9. First things first, this new VTT export feature is being rolled out as an update to Fractal Mapper 9, so make sure you're running the latest build. Go up to the Help menu and select Check for Updates to ensure you have the latest. Alright, so let's take a look at a simple dungeon. As this is a quick tutorial showing off the VTT export features, we'll skip right to that. But do take a look at other videos and the tutorial that comes with FM9 to learn the basics if you're not already familiar with it. Since the UVTT format is grid-based, you'll need to have square grids enabled. Let's turn them on in Map, then Grids, from the menu. So, new in this update is a VTT Tools panel. This has several convenience tools you can use for defining barrier, portal, and light information. There's a polyline tool, a freehand tool, a portal tool, and a light tool. First, let's define some barriers, aka walls. Let's turn on the Snap to Grid to make it easier to follow the dungeon walls. Then select the Polyline Barrier tool. This tool works identically to the standard Polyline tool. Click a spot and release. Click a spot and release, following the dungeon wall. When you're done or need to skip over a section, right-click. You can see that a red line has been placed along the wall. This red line denotes a visual barrier, something characters, when using a VTT, can't see behind. Let's go ahead and finish out the walls. Now let's take a look at this statue here. First, we'll turn off grid snapping. Now we'll use the freehand barrier tool to trace around it. Since it's an object, we want the players to be able to see it, just not see behind it. So what we're going to do is set it as an object barrier. Right-click on the outline you just drew and select VTT Properties from the pop-up. We're going to check the This is an object barrier box and press OK. By telling it this, VTTs that support this feature will block vision only when the line of sight crosses two line segments of the barrier object. This will keep the object visible as you move around it, but block vision behind it. We've used the VTT tools, but any object can be turned into a VTT object. We have some columns here that we also want to treat as object barriers. So what we're going to do is use the ellipse tool to create a barrier. Draw an ellipse like this. Then right-click over it and select VTT Properties. Check both Object is a visual barrier and This is an object barrier. Then hit OK. We can copy-paste this ellipse to take care of the other column. Now, let's put in some doors. Select the Door tool. And let's turn on grid snapping too. Click on one side of a doorway. Drag to the other and release. That's it. Let's do the other door too. Lastly, let's put in some lights. As you can see, we have some torches here. We're going to put light objects right on top of them. First, let's turn off grid snapping. Then, select the Light tool. Then, just click and release over each light. You can define the light's properties in the UVTT file by right-clicking on a light and selecting VTT Properties. There you can set the radius of the light as well as its color. Then press OK. Just note that how the radius is interpreted is up to each VTT. Once we have all our VTT objects in place, it's time to create our battlemap file. Go over to File, VTT Export in the main menu. Enter the name of the file you want to create. You can add your name if you'd like. This will get embedded in the export file. And also specify the pixels per grid cell to use when calculating the size of the exported graphic. Keep in mind, the higher this value, the larger the file you generate will be. Check with your VTT for their recommended value. But a good general value is 100 pixels per cell. Once you're done, hit OK and the file will be created. When you create your uvtt file, the VTT objects themselves will not be part of the exported graphic. Think of the VTT objects as strictly metadata. The resulting image file will be your map, just without these objects. This is also true with image exports and printing as well. Let's take a look at the results. Here's the map imported into Fantasy Grounds. As you can see, as the token is moved around, visibility changes. You can see how the object barriers work on the statue and columns. The players can see them, just not behind them. If you notice, if you move over here, you can see the lighting in play. Then you can move over to the door, click on it, it opens, and you can pass. Oops, maybe we should close this. A couple of other notes. Since Fractal Mapper allows you to place any image into a map, it's possible to take an older image, place it on the map, and draw the barriers on top of it. Here's an example of an older dungeon map, one no doubt many of you older grognards would recognize, with barrier and door information added. And also, it doesn't have to be dungeon maps. You can add VTT info to any type of map, town maps, sci-fi, modern, whatever. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with us on our forums at www.nbos.com. Until next time.